Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, I will play this quick video for you. This is the appellate hearing of Tina Peters' persecution, where the people, and I put the people in quotes because it's the government persecuting the people, arguing that Tina Peters should be locked up on a felony despite the jury instructions having been only for a misdemeanor, so that when the jury found her guilty, they found her guilty of a felony despite the fact that it ought to have only been a misdemeanor. You'll understand when you hear it. Listen.
Is it your position that a person can still be convicted of a crime with which they were never charged and with which the jury was never instructed, as long as the evidence is sufficient?
Yes, I think that is what the case law indicates, that if it's just in this case, I'll just point out too that, I don't have the language of the statutes that you're citing in your hypothetical, but it was one word, might, and it was already.
Yeah, but that one word distinguishes it from a felony to a misdemeanor.
And look at her face, the face of a sniveling rat. This is the prosecutor. Oh yeah. It's bygones. Look and listen to her inability to answer the question. Her inability to answer the question is almost as bad as that so-called doctor from yesterday refusing to answer whether or not men can get pregnant.
This case made an extra sentence, 15 more months in the Department of Corrections that couldn't have been given had it been a misdemeanor conviction. It clearly affects a substantial right.
And I'll just say, I'm confused as to why the people are continuing to maintain that the proper remedy on this isn't to enter the conviction for the misdemeanor, because the indictment used the word might, and the jury was instructed on that. So that's what the verdict is. I am baffled as to the position that's being taken, that we can somehow overlook that and still enter the felony because the evidence that was presented at trial would have supported the felony. Are you still maintaining that position in front of us here today?
That would be your invitation, Madam Prosecutor, to back down and say, you know what, on second thought, maybe we'll back off of this argument. But no, because they're stubborn and stupid and corrupt. The holy trifecta.
Yes, that is our position.
What case law supports that argument?
I'm sorry.
What case law supports that
I've
argument?
cited it in my brief. I don't have it right in front of me, but
fail on all fronts, people. I don't have it in front of me right now. Are you still maintaining that position today in front of us? That would be your invitation to say no. What's the case law? It's in my brief. I don't really know it offhand. Tina Peters is still in jail, rotting away. I started off the show with that clip where basically it's now come to be apparent to at least the appellate level that the judge gave flawed jury instructions that resulted in the conviction of a felony, which ought to have been a misdemeanor based on the charging documents that added 15 months to her sentence. She's sitting in a Colorado gulag rotting away.
State prison.
And I know that this cause is particularly near and dear to you. What's going on with Tina Peters? What can be done for Tina Peters? And what do you want to get out to the world that should be done as relates to concrete action to save Tina Peters?
She is a material witness into the election fraud of 2020, which was a violation of federal law and is a federal crime. She was, as the clerk of her county, she was not just administering state elections, but also federal elections. By doing that, she was acting as a federal officer for federal elections. So what they've done is they've criminalized or attempting to criminalize following federal law. She was following federal law when she preserved evidence of suspected vote fraud and in violation of HAVA, the Help America Vote Act, federal law, which governs congressional elections. Keep in mind, they were not just administering a presidential election at the federal level, but also elections for Congress. And the Help America Vote Act applies. So complying with federal law can't be a crime. That would violate the supremacy clause. That's what they're doing. And I think a good analogy is after the Civil War, imagine a freed black who is running for office or working as a clerk, who then is hammered in state, like say in Alabama, for example, or any state in the South, is hammered for getting up there and following federal election laws. What's the difference? So obviously, President Grant, for example, would not let that stand. He'd go rescue that freed black. That's what's going on now. She's a material witness. I believe President Trump should order, and Ivan and I are of like mind on this, that she should just order that the U.S. Marshals to go pick her up as a material witness, which they do all the time. They go into state prisons all the time and grab people who are federal witnesses, material witnesses to a federal case, and remove them into federal custody for their own protection. You should go get her and put her in witness protection in the White House in the Lincoln bedroom. That's I think it's a mistake it's a good argument to say President Trump has pardoned her, therefore it should apply to her. I think it's a good argument. And the Supreme Court has not, that I know, had a decision that says he can't. So I think it's a brilliant argument by Peter Tickton and the other guys that are working on that case to say he can't. But it's a mistake to go to a state court judge and say, oh, please recognize the president's, hat in hand. Please recognize the president's power to pardon her. Just act on the pardon as though he does have that power, and also go get her as a material witness to go rescue her. That's what should be done. Because what otherwise was likely to happen, sadly, is she may die in prison, because she is a key witness. She is a very key material witness, probably the key witness to the fraud of 2020. And we can't leave her in the hands of some of the people that are being accused of a conspiracy.
Who would be in charge of taking that action of taking her into federal custody? Does that come from
US
the
Marshals.
DOJ?
Well,
US.
that's how it would be if you had a decent attorney general. But I believe President Trump, because he's the boss at the top of the food chain, should just do it himself, and let the chips fall where they may afterwards. Just go get her. Just order the U.S. Marshals to go get her. Back them up if you want to. If they can go down to Venezuela and grab Maduro in the middle of the night, they can go to Colorado and grab Tina Peters. But she's a material witness, one, A. B, he's already pardoned her. And like I said, until you see a Supreme Court case saying that he can't pardon for state offenses, he should operate under the assumption that he can. Why should he not otherwise? Why should he wait and see if a court can give him permission to exercise the duties he believes he already has the power to do? Just go do it.
I mean, it's better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission type thing. Except exactly. he is the commander in chief. Not he's the most powerful person in the country and an elected one. The Constitution gave him those powers. You've met him. Have you met him only once in 2025?
I've never met President Trump.
Okay.
No. I've been to rallies. I've been in the VIP section of multiple Trump rallies over the years, and we've done a lot of security outside of Trump rallies, doing volunteer escorts back to your cars. Because when you go into a Trump rally, Antifa knows you're going to go through metal detectors for Secret Service, so when you come out, you're going to be unarmed. So they'll attack Trump supporters. So we would post up armed, like retired police officers carrying pistols outside the venue and give volunteer escorts back to people's cars. That's what we did all the time. But I never met President Trump. No, ironically. Never.
And do you have a direct line to the president?
I do not. Wish I did. That's why in 2020 I wrote open letters, like in November, December, and January, open letters to President Trump urging him to invoke the Insurrection Act to help to stamp down on the election fraud and discover evidence of it. I also encouraged him to use his absolute power as president, commander in chief, to declassify anything held in the files of the NSA, CIA, FBI, DNI, etc. Absolute power and authority to classify anything and put it out there and expose the deep state. And I said, hey, Epstein is nothing but a Mossad and CIA intelligence operation, a blackmail operation. That's how the intelligence agencies run all these politicians, is through dirt. They blackmail them or they bribe them. They're compromised in some way. It's how they're controlled. I mean, obviously, look what J. Edgar Hoover did, right? In the days of file cabinets, before there was any electronic surveillance, he was running around with wiretaps, bugging people's bedrooms. He had files on everybody. That's why he died in office. So imagine what it's like now with the NSA. So that's why I said to President Trump, use your absolute power. To take down the deep state, the first step is exposure. I think to this day, right now, it's the most effective thing he can do is use exposure. Just like Elon Musk did when he took over Twitter. What did he do? Threw the doors open and showed all the backroom dealings of FBI, DHS, NSA, and CIA, sitting in on internal discussions out of Twitter of who to censor and what to censor. Same exact thing should be done. Doge was on the right track. We need more of that. That's what I said. That's what I've been saying since 2020. That's what I'm saying right now. I think President Trump right now should invoke the Insurrection Act and do exactly that, a big declassification, and take down, start with the corrupt judges, take them down because they're your most dangerous obstructionist, but then go after members of Congress. And he should do it before the midterms to give us a chance. Once you've exposed bad actors in the Republican Party, along with the Democrats, gives us, the patriots, the base, time to go and find real candidates to run in those primaries so they can win the midterms. If you don't have effective, good, actual America First candidates in the midterms, they're going to lose.